Somebody asked me when I fell in love with hip hop. After careful consideration, I recited a line from a song that made me attached to hip hop for the rest of my life. Hip hop for me wasn't just music. It was a culture. It was something that I developed over time, but I never really knew why. And now I sit and I think where we are in hip hop now. But then I think, well, where do we come from? Well, hip hop was born in the Bronx in New York in 1973. Well, according to BBC, hip hop was born at a party in this guy named DJ Kool Herc's apartment in August of 1973. DJ Herc had a Jamaican background because he came from Jamaica to New York in 1967. So he had been DJing around the block at parties here and there. So people knew who he was. He became a household name. And for him, having a Jamaican background, all he knew was reggae, Bob Marley, and different artists in Jamaica. And Jeff Chang, the author of Can't Stop, Won't Stop, says DJ Kool Herc says hip hop started in Trenchtown. It's a town in Jamaica, but that's where DJ Kool Herc says hip hop started. Because he brought that reggae background to Jamaica, from Jamaica to New York. And he sparked something that what people called him just talking over the mic with a reggae beat behind him, or talking during a drum break. So nobody really knew what he was doing, but it was just something that he did. And from what he did, he started the whole movement of hip hop. And from what he did in that apartment in 1973, started this underground movement of hip hop. These street battles, these breakdance sessions, these different fashion styles and trends that ended up taking over, but originated in the South Bronx. And according to The Independent, this thing that DJ Kool Herc started just escalated into something that nobody could have ever predicted. So it ended up producing groups and guys and individuals starting this thing called hip hop and rap. And it just took over its own. So you had groups like Grandmaster and the Furious Five, Run DMC, Eric B. and Rakim, and all these different people doing this thing called hip hop that nobody had ever seen, nobody had ever heard. And it originated from reggae, from Jamaica, that took over New York. So, according to The Independent, hip-hop really didn't become mainstream until 1979. So from 1973, when it was first discovered, to 1979, you had all this underground stuff going on. But when 1979 hit, it just seemed like all this inspiration from these different individuals just doing things that they saw in magazines or TV, or just guys that they saw grow up around where they lived. They just started these trends, all black, Kangol hats, big chains, and hip hop grew as a culture. And especially during the 1970s, where it was fresh off civil rights, people were still fighting for equal rights in the African American community. Hip hop was that one thing that they could go to and express themselves. And you had groups like Public Enemy start doing these things, start using hip hop to speak for the people. And it just progressed through the 80s. And the late 80s have been called the golden years of hip hop, because that's where you had this mass production of groups, individuals, and different artists that produced a sound that unlike anything that they had ever heard. And it influenced, people that we listen to today, people that I listen to today. J. Cole's, your Kendrick Lamar's, Jay-Z's, your Drake's, your Childish Gambino's, your Lil Wayne's. That movement, that culture change expanded far beyond music. It ended up turning to how people dress, what people sound like, what they say, what people do in their everyday life. Hip hop was an outlet, an expression for the urban youth, for the urban community, and it all started from DJ Kool Herc's August summer jam back to school party. And DJ Kool Herc says, hip hop is like a family. Come as you are. You're not going to be judged. Hip hop is just an expression of art, of music, of style, fashion, anything that you want it to be. And nobody's going to judge you. So for me, hip hop was one of these things that I could just be myself. I could be anybody that I wanted to be. And from that day in August in the Bronx to now, you see how much hip hop has influenced everyday life, everyday culture, sports, everything. All of this because of a reggae background Jamaican guy in New York City. And from then, literally, the rest is history. And Jeff Chang says, without DJ Kool Herc, we're not talking about hip hop 40 years down the road. So, DJ Kool Herc, I might have to go to Jamaica and start a new movement.